Welcome to another episode of OG55. I got the Italiano with me today. We are diving in to Pandora West yet again. We are actually going to discuss in further detail the Fire and Ash trailer and what that might mean for the land and the attraction. I had theme park conductor on the other day to discuss this. I wanted to bring George on to kind of get his thoughts on it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to break it down. Up next on Jeezy, Biddy, Bougie. Welcome aboard, everybody, to another fantastic episode of OG55. We're talking about Avatar in Disney's California Adventure. This is the big land coming. We're getting this in 5 years, coming to DCA. Big moment for this park. So we're going to dive into a little speculation town, USA, in regards to the trailer that just dropped a couple of days ago for Fire and Ash. But before we do, George the Italiano, where can everybody find you on social media, sir?
Absolutely, and thanks for having me back on. It's always a great time having these discussions with you. And yeah, you can find me on my YouTube channel, Hollow Gelato, where Abby and I go around to many different locations, including the theme parks, Disney, Universal, Knott's, you name it, where we do food reviews, cover breaking news of things in the theme parks. We do out-of-theater reaction reviews and all that good stuff. But you can find us over on Hollow Gelato and also on Instagram under Hollow Gelato as well.
There he is. Okay, let's dive into this because this is actually very, very interesting. I'm gonna play it kind of small. We're not gonna actually actively watch the trailer. I'm gonna have it kind of running in the background. George and I have both watched it already, but I posed this question to theme park conductor the other day, and I want to ask you, George.
Mm-hmm.
We know from Josh D'Amaro at D23 over a year ago now, this upcoming land that we're getting at DCA will not just feature one movie. This is going to be based on 3 films, Fire and Ash, and the 2 after that, I believe is what he said. Now, this trailer has a lot of cool visuals. We see a lot of fire, obviously, in this trailer. Out the gate, what do you think? Is it possible we're going to see some really cool kind of like in-attraction sort of fire effects? Maybe like Phantasmic style, where we have like fire on the water itself and stuff like that. You think we're going to get some of that, or you think that's kind of overly ambitious or overly optimistic?
I think, honestly, anything is possible. I don't necessarily think that that's what we're going to get right out the gate. But I do believe that there is potential for them to do more with Pandora, like once the land opens up as a whole itself. I think there's always room for growth and expansion of adding stuff within the perimeter of the land itself. And with this particular Pandora coming out to DCA, it's actually going to be based off of the 4 films. It's Way of Water, Fire and Ash, and then the 2 sequels after Fire and Ash. Now,
Gotcha.
My take on this is because D'Amaro said that all these projects, including Pandora, of what was announced at D23, were all going to be completed or, at least maybe started within the first 5 years of the 10-year commitment of growth and expansion and what have you of the Disney parks around the world. Now, when he said that they were adding the sequels, yet even the ones that are not even named yet, that kind of gridlocks Disney a little bit into how much they can really give us the information, because knowing James Cameron, he usually doesn't really give too much of his own information when it comes to his films. Because look at right now, we just got like another official trailer out recently, and we're almost like it's 3 months before the movie comes out. So, I mean, we get the trailers kind of close to when the movies are released. So, depending on the contents of what is going to be included in this land with the sequels, whether it's very small significance or big significance, that will tell of how much information we're going to get as the fans as they are building this land. Now, I'm for sure, without a doubt, that they're going to start the construction in 2026.
Yeah.
But again, it's how much are they going to tell us that's going to be incorporated with this land? Because I have a feeling by the time this land officially opens, that's when Cameron will be wrapping up on Avatar 4 and 5.
Yeah. No, and Bruce Vaughn has said recently how Imagineering or Disney in general, they're taking a different approach when it comes to announcing projects and how much information they give to the fans in advance. I think they've kind of learned that it kind of works for Universal, that the fact that Universal doesn't really give away a whole lot. Universal will basically, you know, they're building the damn thing. It's got steel going up, and they'll announce the project in the middle of the construction, right? And I think that's benefited Universal. We've talked about that a lot here on OT55, where fans don't get mentally married to concept art years and years and years in advance for the Universal projects. I mean, most of the stuff we learn about Universal, like their upcoming stuff, is usually from great creators like Theme Park Wizard or Alicia Stella, right? But Universal themselves doesn't really release a lot of details. I think Disney's kind of going in that direction, you know. So they're already being more secretive. I mean, even the Florida projects that we're seeing. I mean, we haven't really heard much about Encanto. We don't know the ride system. We don't know anything with that. We don't know what's coming really to the Indiana Jones attraction over there in Animal Kingdom. There hasn't been a whole lot of information over there either. And those have started construction, you know? So I think Disney's kind of going in a different direction. But now here's the thing. With this new direction Disney's going in, and you're adding James Cameron to it, it's going to be even more secretive. You know, we're not going to hear a whole lot of stuff. Now, you bring up a great point, George, where how much though of these sequels is in this attraction, because it could just be small things. It could be mostly a way of water attraction, but there's creatures, maybe a creature here, a creature there from these other movies. And that's not really a big deal. But Josh gets up there and is like, yeah, it's based on 4 of the movies. You know what I'm saying? So we don't even know that. So it's kind of like, I don't know, you know?
Or it could be even subtle things even within the land itself. Like when you're walking around, you see like a hidden Easter egg and you say, oh, that was part of Avatar 4, or that was part of Fire and Ash. You know, like they may add like stuff in like that as well.
100%. Now, do you think this is Disney's response to Galaxy's Edge? And what I mean by that is, we know with Galaxy's Edge, they really focused on one particular part of that Star Wars timeline. With this, they're not doing one movie. We got multiple movies. They really want to spread it out, at least to some degree, over a multiple film kind of thing. Galaxy's Edge doesn't have that. Even the Pandora land over in Animal Kingdom doesn't have that. Do you think that's kind of like Disney acknowledging that, hey, we need to broaden the scope here because of what we learned from Galaxy's Edge, or do you think it's just coincidence?
I mean, it's very possible they could. I think Disney won't admit the fact because it would be of Galaxy's Edge, so it could really go either way. I do like that approach that Disney is taking on it, because you're not just secluding yourself in one landlocked time era that they did with Galaxy's Edge. So the fact that they're kind of incorporating all the Avatar films in this one land, whether it's big or small, I actually like it, because if they ever want to update anything in the future in a much grander scale, they could do so.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, do you think because of the nature of James Cameron, what kind of filmmaker he is, very ambitious, he's kind of a go big or go home kind of guy. Do you think, George, that there's a strong possibility this thing gets delayed? Now, like you said, we're probably going to get construction starting in 2026 because Monsters Inc. is closing. And I think part of that closure is to take some of those animatronics and put them in the coaster over at Florida. I think they're going to recycle some of that stuff, almost certainly. So there is kind of a little bit of a sense of urgency with getting that thing closed and some of that stuff shipped over, in my opinion. But do you think it's possible that the construction timeline drags out because of the kind of filmmaker and the kind of creative that James Cameron is? It's not a bad thing necessarily, but could you see it delaying this thing?
It's very possible. Because Cameron delays his own films, because he waits for certain specific kind of technology that he may be looking into, but it's not fully established yet. And he's waiting for the perfect time. I mean, that's actually how even Avatar even was conceived. You know, he wrote the original screenplay back in the 90s for Avatar, and he literally put it in his drawer, and it just sat there until the technology was ready. And when he was ready to do the first film, which was released in 2009, and literally over a decade later, out comes The Way of Water. You know, and these films, he loves to take time and like really, you know, depict the details. So the fact that these are his babies and they're going to be showcased in the Disney parks, I could definitely see them possibly delaying it on that note. And honestly, it wouldn't surprise me. And this may be a hot take. I would be okay with it because I would rather something take a little bit more time, and in the end, we get a big, grandiose kind of land, and it was like, wow, this was worth it, rather than them just kind of cut and paste a hodgepodge kind of lukewarm kind of version of Pandora and open it up, wrap it up, call it a day. Like, to me, that would do it completely injustice, and I think Cameron would be absolutely livid if they did that. But that also, you know, arcs the question of, again, why are they putting a land of Pandora in Hollywood Land, where, again, I do understand the reasoning for closing down Monsters Inc. Exactly what you said. I have a feeling as well that a lot of the props and animatronics will be used for the Monsters Inc. down in Orlando, but closing it down for Avatar in that type of space, I still, for the life of me, cannot see Pandora in that spot.
No, I know. It's going to be, I was just there the other day and we were walking through it and I was like, okay, I don't know. How is this going to work? You're walking down Hollywood Boulevard and then to your left is going to be Pandora. One thing I do not want, because we've talked about it so many times, George, and bringing it back to Galaxy's Edge, the Hollywood Studios transition for Galaxy's Edge. It's a freeway overpass that you walk under basically, and then you're in Galaxy's Edge. I wouldn't be surprised if we get something like that. Unfortunately, look, do I want that? No. But would I be shocked if they go that route? No. Would you? Would you be shocked?
No, I wouldn't be shocked at all. And honestly, and if they also go the route, because if they say, okay, we're kind of going back, that this is kind of, you know, Hollywood, you know, out here in California, you know, Avatar is a big blockbuster film franchise. We're going to take that approach of how fans could do it. Because honestly, I know this is kind of going a little off topic, but it kind of fits into the realm here. I was just recently at LA Comic-Con and I attended the Universal panel, and they were talking about the Fast and Furious coaster. And they were saying that this is not going to be an immersive storytelling of the Fast and Furious franchise. They said this is a coaster that's going to be based off of to pay tribute to all the stunt people in the industry. And like that just like completely blew my mind. The fact that I'm thinking, yeah, okay, it is a roller coaster. Obviously, you're not going to get like a whole lot of theming. But I thought, okay, well, maybe we can get some sort of theming inside of the load area, you know, inside like the warehouse kind of thing, which I'm for sure we will. But the fact that the whole attraction is based off of how the stunt people do it in Hollywood, that changes the whole perspective like of what that attraction is going to be now. Is that the route that Disney's going to go with Avatar? In a way, I hope not. Because, again, I don't want this kind of, oh, let's show you how we do it behind the scenes. No, I want to be immersed in the land. I want to be, like, in there in real-world time. And I just don't see how this is going to go, where you have Buena Vista Street in one direction, you have Avengers Campus coming in through the other, and then, boom, you have Pandora squeezed in between them. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
No, it is going to be interesting to see how they mesh all this stuff together. You know what I'm saying? Now that Fast and Furious thing, not to go too much on a tangent, that really surprises me because Universal and even Disney, they really have been distancing themselves from that backlot, behind the scenes movie making kind of thing. You know, Universal, we've seen it with like lands like Super Nintendo and Harry Potter, and you know they're really kind of trying to get away from that. So the fact that they're kind of going back to like that Hollywood magic kind of thing is surprising.
Mhm.
This is the first time I've heard of it, and that's kind of surprising to me.
And honestly,
Yeah, I
even
don't know.
Disney World is going back to it because of the magic of the Disney animation, which I'm thrilled for. I'm glad we're kind of getting that animation building back at Hollywood Studios, but it's kind of starting to see that they're kind of reversing a little bit.
Yeah, I hope with this, I don't think you can do that with this because of the nature of the land itself. The land itself is too immersive to kind of do that. I mean, I don't know how you would
I
even
think
really.
it's more so like I just hope they don't use it as a representation that because it's called like Disney California Adventure and it's just like, oh, well, we're just throwing like all these blockbuster film franchises together. It's not supposed to really make sense in that sense.
Right.
Where it's like, so that makes it okay that you could literally walk right past Mission Breakout and go right into Pandora. Like, I hope that's not the case.
Now let me ask you a question though. I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. Now you technically walk past a turn of the century street to get to a castle though at Disneyland. Is that not kind of two opposite weird things that sort of are within visual distance of each other, or do you think that that is because we're used to it, or?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it is because, like, subconsciously, we're so used to that that automatically it's like a psychological thing that it makes sense. Um, but I think too, even though it's titled Sleeping Beauty Castle, it's still its own original architecture. So it kind of like it's saying, okay, there's a castle in the distance. You know, you're walking down the turn of the century, you know, Main Street and what have you. We're getting to the castle. The castle is the portal to get into Fantasyland and everything else that surrounds it. Where I feel like with this, because it's something that's already pre-created in film that everybody is going to recognize. I just feel like that because of the style of where this film is set, it just seems very now again very weird. But then again, I said the same thing with the first one when it was going in Animal Kingdom. I'm thinking, how in the world is this going to work? Like they're putting Avatar, they're going to have big blue alien creatures walking around Animal Kingdom. Like, how are they doing this? But they managed to do so. And as I said, I do have faith in Disney that they will get it right. I hope they get it right. But I just have just a lot of unanswered questions that are still there. And we're not getting those answers because I feel like, again, with Cameron's very anal attentive to detail, and also with having all these films wrapped in the land, we're probably going to get little bits and pieces like throughout the 5 years. I don't
Yeah.
really think we're going to get a whole big chunk of information, even at D23. I think if people are thinking we're going to get a lot of news, and I could be wrong, and I will eat the crow, as I've done before. I have no problem with eating crow. I just don't think we're going to get like a whole big slew full of news because I honestly think we would have gotten it already.
Well, and here's the thing: if Disney really wanted to make, here's the thing: there is a solution to the Avatar mission breakout um, dilemma, so to speak. But Disney has to go big though to solve it. And I'll tell them right now, Disney, I'm going to give you an easy way for that transition to be damn near perfect. We are fortunate enough where Mission Breakout is a Marvel attraction, but it's Marvel that's outside of Earth. It's a otherworldly franchise. It's Guardians of the Galaxy, right?
Okay.
And across the way is what? An alien planet, Pandora. So they're obviously two separate franchises, but they both deal with things outside of our world. If Disney was smart, what they should do, and they probably won't do this, but they should do it, is get rid of all of Hollywoodland. And then you can do the transition from Pandora into a more Guardians of the Galaxy sort of thing, and it kind of makes sense because it's like I said, it's galaxy out of this world kind of stuff, and you can do maybe even like an area in between the two lands that sort of combines both styles or whatever to kind of get you in the mood for each one. That would work. Do I think they're going to do that? No, I don't, because I'm going off of what they're telling us officially, and what they're telling us officially. Avatar isn't going to go that far over. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And then also too, well, it doesn't even look like that even the land is even going to bleed into the bus load unload area, because when we see the concept art for the Eastern Gateway and the bridge going over harbor, you see Pandora's ass like right before you see where it moves into the bus load unload area. So I guess essentially that's going to be either that still stays as walking room or that is for backstage area.
Yeah.
As far as like the land itself, I don't know. It doesn't really look like that through that piece of concept art that Pandora is going to go into the bus load unload area. Now, as far as what you were saying about Hollywoodland, I would agree with you. I think honestly that's a big part of why I think it's going to look really weird, because you're going to basically circumcise Hollywoodland,
Right.
and you're going to have like this piece of walkway that really has no representation of nothing, and then it's just going to go right into Pandora.
Yeah, in this situation, I think the solution is more Avatar and less Hollywood. Like, I think that the way you make Avatar kind of fit is by getting rid of Hollywoodland completely. I think you're right, George. I think having Hollywoodland still there makes it weird. That's what makes it weird. Because if you build Pandora from the ground up and you get rid of Hollywoodland, you can address the two lands it connects. You can address the Buena Vista Street side and you can address the Marvel side. Like I said, with the Marvel side, you go in an alien, otherworldly kind of transition. That would work into Mission Breakout. For the Buena Vista Street side, you can maybe do like a more of a military encampment thing on that side, because Avatar has military stuff in it. That kind of goes into more of like the urban street and all that, right? So there's things you can kind of do to connect the land on both sides to make it transition beautifully. The problem is that Disney wants to keep the Hollywoodland Boulevard. That's what's mucking up the works.
Because even they're refurbishing Mickey's PhilharMagic. They didn't give no like definitive like closed on date if they were closing that, so that's staying. So where is the transition of that into Pandora? Because if it really is true, where you look at the piece of concept art for the Eastern Gateway and you see the back of Pandora's ass that doesn't even really hit into the busload unload area, then that means a majority of the land is going to be already within the footprints of the park itself.
Right.
You have the backlot area, and then it's going to bleed into the top part of Hollywoodland, which then tells me I feel like the Hyperion is going bye-bye.
It has to.
It has to. There's no way that they could fit that whole entire land in that tight little cranny nook of the backlot. There's no way that they could.
No. Yeah, no, you're right. The busload unload will be strictly for the show building for the attraction. That whole thing will be show building. That whole thing. The Monsters Inc. area and all that little courtyard area in front of Monsters Inc., Hollywood and Dine, and the Millionaire Building and all that stuff, that's all going to be like outside aesthetics. The big body of water, all that. Yeah. But I mean, it might make more sense once they start. I think once they start demolishing stuff, when they tear down that Hollywood and Dine building, when they tear down that Millionaire Building, when they tear down the Monsters Inc. building, I think it's going to start to make a little more sense in our head, because we're going to see just how big that area is. It's right now, it doesn't seem that big because those buildings take up a lot of space. But that Millionaire Building is massive, dude. It's massive,
That's true. We're only seeing the front facade of those buildings. We're not really like looking at the whole acreage of that where that building holds. But yeah, you're right. When you demolish all that and you get that open air kind of, open land, then you're like, okay, now that looks, pretty significant. Now, again, kind of going back to what the original conversation was, we don't know what is involved with these sequels. Is Earth going to be part of it? Is the state of California going to be part of it? We don't know, but Disney's not going to tell us because Cameron's not going to tell us. So that's where it goes back to. It's like we're not going to know until they start really putting up walls, knocking stuff down, and start building up. Now, you had mentioned earlier about a possible delay with Cameron. Could there possibly be a delay because maybe he's fighting for the fact that he doesn't want Pandora the proposed Pandora that Disney is showing him in Hollywood land.
I think that ship has kind of sailed at this point, in my opinion. They've already announced the closure of Monsters. I think that's pretty locked in.
I mean,
In my opinion, I could be
think
wrong.
that
But
they could still close Monsters, but then just utilize it for something else while they're waiting for Pandora.
I mean, they could, but I mean, it's a possibility. I mean, Disney is always full of surprises, but then you have to figure something else out for that space. Now you have an attraction that's shut down, and that's going to be even more of a mess. I don't know. In my opinion, I think that is locked in for Pandora. I just
But look how long that if Pandora really is going to be on the back hand of the first 5 years,
right.
Possibly bleeding into the 6th year. So they're going to close down Monsters Inc. So they're really going to be out of an attraction, one less attraction for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, they're going to be down an attraction and all that space. Remember, there's also a food truck over there. There's like a bar in the back that serves like alcoholic drinks and cocktails and stuff like that. They're going to be out of that. There's a lot of space back there, and a lot of stuff going on back there that they're going to lose. You know, DCA is going to be going through a transitionary period like it did in the lead up to Cars Land, where it's going to be kind of I don't want to say a bad park, but it's going to be a very compromised park for a few years while they're doing this. You know,
yeah, absolutely. Then once like Coco and Avatar then open, then boom, you have a great park. But yeah, up until that point. I don't know, how many people I could see, maybe the locals that are Magic Key holders, but I don't see like out of towners that are going to want to buy an individual ticket just to do that, a half day park at DCA with all construction walls up.
And another thing that I'm wondering about is they're getting rid of that whole area over there. But what about the facades that face Hollywood Boulevard?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like where does it integrate? Because again, if you're going to keep a piece of Hollywood, it has to make sense to look like Hollywood. But yeah, you're right. What is a Hollywood facade going to look like right bang next up to Pandora?
Well, and that's the thing. Are they going to keep the facades or are those going to go too? But if they go too, what are you going to put there? Just a giant cliff? I don't know. That's the thing. And there has to be a plan of some sort that obviously we don't know the plan. There has to be some sort of way they're tying this in. And it could be, and that could also be why they're basing it on the next 4 movies, because there is something in those movies that tie it in. That could be why. Because I did find that kind of weird that this area is based on the next 4 movies. They've never really done that before.
I guarantee you in the next coming sequels, if Jake Sully and Neytiri make a trip to Earth and they end up getting a hot dog at Award Wieners, a milkshake at Schmoozies, and they go and sit down and watch Mickey's PhilharMagic, then it'll all make sense. Then
it all makes sense.
It'll all stay.
It'll all stay. Yeah, I think that's a possibility. I do think that's an interesting kind of theory, because the fact that they're basing this on the next 4 movies, there might be something in those movies, and this is the thing, they might have needed to do it. They might have needed to do it this way in order for it to fit in DCA. Because you got to think how an executive thinks, right? An executive like Bob Iger or whatever, they're looking here and they're going, okay, DCA needs something, and they're looking for what IP can go in this park. Well, we have this Avatar thing that's made $2 billion for each movie, but how is that going to fit into a park about California? Well, James Cameron comes in and says, well, in one of the sequels, this and this happens.
Exactly.
So now they're forced into doing this land based on the next 4 movies, because the next 4 movies explains why it's going to be in this park. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, look, again, I'm speculating. This is all speculation, but I mean, I think it's a solid theory, but we'll see what happens, man. I don't know. And that also might explain the aesthetics. If there's like an Earth base or something like that, that might be what the Hollywood Land area looks like, or what's butting up against Hollywood Land, what it looks like. You know what I'm saying? So there's a whole bunch of question marks with this land, and we don't really have a lot of answers to any of it, you know?
Well, and I also feel too that it's going to be very telling at the next D23.
Yeah.
I think honestly, if we don't hear anything at D23. Anything more big, significant, substantial on Pandora, they're never going to tell us, and it's pretty much, again, we're going to know as it goes, which again is not really a bad thing. I think if Disney can kind of crack that code and get people to realize to say, hey, we're not doing this anymore, where we're going to give you this concept art and you guys are going to get married to it, and then they're not going to do it anymore. Yeah. So I mean, if this is the route that they go and they go a little bit universal, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, sometimes you got to do what you got to do, man. Disney has a very, very passionate fan base, which is good, which is very, very good. But it can also bite you in the ass as a company, because people get very, like you said, mentally married to this stuff. You know what I'm saying? There's a reason why people get more upset when Disney does things than when Universal does things, or when Paramount does things. There's more emotional investment in that Disney brand. You know what I'm saying? So Disney's aware of that, and releasing concept art and giving like kind of oversharing, 3, 4, 5 years in advance isn't the best, because during that creative process, things change and then fans get pissed off. Well, we were promised this. And like I said, to be fair to the current Disney management team, which I know is not cool to do right now, but I'm just, the reality is the reality. You know what I'm saying? Michael Eisner constantly canceled plans too. Okay. We had the Disney decade full of stuff that never saw the light of day. We saw Westcott. We saw even Indiana Jones Adventure. There were elements of that never saw the light of day.
I think Eisner canceled a lot more than what was under Iger.
I think so too, bro. I think so too. And I love Michael Eisner, man. I love and respect him.
Nothing against him. Yeah, I do too. I used to love watching him on the Disney Channel, like right before like a TV special was coming on, and he goes like, "Hi, I'm Michael Eisner, Chief Executive Officer of the Walt Disney Company." He'd come out with his moss ears on, or he'd have his Donald Duck T-shirt. He's walking the parks. He's interacting with the characters, the guests. That was Eisner. That was him. But there were some things under his belt that was not his strong suit. And I feel like after Frank Wells' untimely passing, unfortunately, and his quadruple bypass surgery, Eisner, that he was no good after that.
No, 100%, 100%. Fascinating conversation, George. Everybody at home, comment on down below with all your theories, speculation. Are we, George and I, onto something, or are we totally off base? We love to hear all kinds of opinions here at OG55. Now, before we get out of here, we have a lovely outro done by the one and only Miss Mimi Fan. You can follow her on Instagram, Mimi Fan, or you can even subscribe to her YouTube channel. Both are down below if you're looking for cool spots in LA or Orange County, whether it's Korean barbecue, boba, Vietnamese places for some cool banh mi or pho. Check Mimi Fan out. Links in the description down below. We love Mimi Fan here at OG55. And we also love Jared from Capture the Magic. You can buy yourself a nice little nerdy t-shirt, because we're all nerds here, right? So, hey, check out CTMAPPAREL. If you use promo code OG55, you will get a 10% discount on your purchase. Link down below. Capture the Magic, Mimi Fan, both in the description. George, where can everybody find you on the social medias?
Absolutely. You can find me along with Abby at our YouTube channel, Hollow Gelato, where we have the scoop on everything Disney, Universal, Knott's, Into the Parks, all that fun stuff, Disney Cruise Line, out of theater reactions, you name it. We got every flavor.
Wow, George, you're laying it on thick, bro. You're melting my heart.
Yeah. And you can also,
how many puns can we fit into this one, huh?
And you can also follow us on Instagram under Hollow Gelato as well.
There we go. There we go. All right, everybody, comment down below with all your thoughts on the Fire and Ash trailer, what it means for DCA's Pandora. We would love to hear from you. This is a very exciting project. I think this project is really going to change the way people see California Adventure. This is going to, if done right, can really make this into a world-class theme park. But, Disney has to get those transitions right. It's going to be kind of a weird, I don't know, like a weird piece of the puzzle, but hopefully they'll figure it out. But thank you for watching this episode of OG55. And as I said before, Mimi Fan is going to close us out.
Thank you so much for watching OG55. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and become a member today.